Welcome back, Source Nation. You're listening live to World News and National News with your host, Ami.
Welcome back to World News with Ami Smith. Source Nation, we have a special guest who is going to speak with us about Women in Touch, an organization that's working to help bring holiness and soundness to hurting women and children while developing character and building healthy relationships. Source Nation, please join me in welcoming the founder of Women in Touch, Ms. Cindy Moore. How you doing?
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much, Cindy, for joining us on the show. We really appreciate it. And we're lucky to have you here in the studio with us. We're really happy that you're here with us this evening.
Well, thanks for having me this evening.
Source Nation, if you have any questions at all, feel free to get in contact with us online in our Source Nation chat room, or you can give us a call at 619-924-0933. Again, it's 619-924-0933. We do have our news staff standing by to take your call. So, Ms. Cindy, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am a mother, a grandmother, a great-grandmother. I live in the city of Detroit, and I'm a writer-producer, co-writer. I stay busy a lot with my children and in the organization Women in Touch. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about that right now, if you don't mind.
Sure.
It was founded in 1999, but it wasn't fully operational until about 2002. And at that time, we got together, my daughters and I thought really we were just going to meet, just a few women, and we were just going to talk over some issues to see how we could be a help to one another. But I found out that this was more than a notion and that people were in crises. And I could also relate to a lot of women, especially the women that had gone through domestic violence and homelessness, because that's part of my background. And as the organization began to grow and evolve, this began to be the population I addressed, and that was homelessness and women of domestic violence. And in that, we decided to incorporate a group for young women to catch girls at a very early age, from the age of 7 to 17. So I had a few other friends join the organization, Tisha Emanuel and Venetia Lyons. And by that time, my daughters, Delilah and Ashante, had went on to college to get all their many degrees. And so I was blessed to get these two ladies to come in and work with me in the organization.
That's amazing. Now, can you tell us a little bit more about your background? You mentioned that, you have experienced different things in your past, and it's to my understanding that you founded this organization really out of those personal experiences, those life choices. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, I found that I made, sometimes as women, when you're not really sure of who you are, people can come along and give you an identity. And at that time, I started dating, and finally I got married. And I wasn't really sure of who I was. And in my marriage, there were difficulties. I ended up leaving my marriage and being homeless for a while. And when I was homeless, I was also expecting our second child. Well, later on, I did get divorced. And I went straight from my parents' home to marriage. So now here's a woman that has 2 children and really have no experience on really life except at home living and then marriage. But things evolved in my life, and I began to make some really bad choices in the men that I dated. And it got so serious, and when it gets serious and you begin to involve your family, it's time for you to take a look at yourself, because it's not all the time the men, it's you. The common denominators in these relationships was me. And so after coming to know myself, because I believe in God and Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, and after coming to know myself, I began to make better choices. And through those better choices, I found out that other women were going through similar things themselves. And so the organization was founded because of that. And later on, after working in the organization, I met several other women that truly helped out and helped the organization to grow, such as Winona and Minnie and Mr. Hickman. Even a man came on our board, and we began to really grow. But through working with the women, I also got to understand myself a little better. But within that time, I was diagnosed with a disease that was soon to begin to take my sight. And now I had to start all over again, understanding and knowing who I was, so people didn't label me as the blind lady. I had to be identified as to who I was, you know. And so when people say Miss Cindy, they don't say the blind person. They say, oh, you talking about Miss Cindy? You know, and that's how I want to be known. I don't want to be known by the challenge that I have in my life, and that's being legally blind.
Wow. You have an amazing testimony for sure. And can you just tell us a little bit about how those experiences really has helped you to pull others out of, situations with domestic violence and pull other young people, specifically women, out of those situations?
One of the things is, like I said, when you have low self-esteem, the whole center of the low self-esteem is fear. And that fear is an offshoot of a whole lot of things, a lack of confidence. Sometimes you think that you don't look good, you don't speak good, you don't have friends, and a lot of things are connected to low self-esteem. You begin to make so many bad choices. And because of my sight sometimes, I thought people wouldn't accept me, and sometimes people would walk away. And I wanted to just stay by myself. But I found out this one thing to be true, that through all things that I am a conqueror. And as I began to make steps toward my dream, and my dreams were always to be able to help to serve. I think I've been doing that since I was a child. I'm the oldest out of 5 siblings, so it's 6 of us. And I think I was left a lot to take care of my sisters and brothers. And so I learned to serve. But it was through, I believe, what the devil meant for harm, my sight. It was through that I learned about myself and that I could still accomplish the dreams and the things that I wanted to accomplish, such as writing plays, producing plays, singing, writing songs. These things I do more now with being legally blind than I did when I had my sight. And as other women and other people seeing me work and not letting my challenge be a challenge, I found that it has inspired other people. And I didn't know that, but when I talk to women or men or anyone, they don't know at first that I'm legally blind until they see me maybe walk away with my cane. So it inspires people to understand no matter what you're faced with, no matter what you're going through in life, we're all called for a particular purpose, and you can achieve that. And you keep telling people that. Like our mission statement is to help bring wholeness. Some people say holiness, but it's wholeness. And wholeness is knowing who you are and the fullness. You've heard women say sometime, I'm going to find my better half. But we're created whole. So you don't look for your better half. You're whole. And once a person realizes that everything they need is within the inside of them because God has placed it, and this is my belief, that they become victorious.
Wow, definitely. I want to talk to you a little bit more about something that you said earlier. You said that growing up, you were in a household of 6, and your dream was to serve. You had the sisters and brothers, and it was always, to serve. So did that play a part in you getting involved with incorporating children into assisting them as well in your organization? Tell us a little bit how you got passionate about helping children.
Well, actually, to be truthful about it, I didn't first like being the oldest because my mother and father always taught me I had to set this example. But then sometimes my mother was sickly and my father worked, And so I was left to take care of my sisters and brothers. And my mother always had a standard by which we should live, and my father did too. And so, you know, back when I was growing up, they instilled things in us about being a person of integrity, truth, and honesty. And when my mother was sick, I knew that somebody had to help take care of the children. And so I would do that. And so I got involved in it. And I said one time I would have no children because I had sisters and my brothers. But after I graduated out of high school, I went back to school. And children became such a focused part of my life because I realized that their minds are like sponges, and that when they love you, they love on you hard. And so I started working and began to teach in schools and private schools, and I grew to love them. So I went back to school to learn about early childhood development, and I began to teach and train. But after a while, I realized that we could teach our children things, but if they're going back to a home that is toxic and they're listening to things on TV, on the media that's toxic, it does very little good. And so after working with children for so long in my life, I decided that you have to go into these homes and work with these mothers, because in the city of Detroit, over half the households, with 60% of the households, are ran by single mothers. And some of these mothers are quite young, because our children are having babies at the age of 13. So if you don't catch their minds while they're young and begin to instill them into them that you are wonderful and that you have a purpose, the media can tell them that you have to be a certain look, a certain color, a certain height. Men will tell them if you do this, you can have this. And the world can tell you a whole lot of things if you don't know who you are.
Totally agree with that statement, for sure. Tell us a little bit about your actual services that you provide for these women as well as children, so that our Source Nation family can have a great understanding of everything that you're doing for helping out the less fortunate and just helping out people in general that are in dire situations.
Well, they vary. One of the things that we do have a group called Girl Majestic, and this particular part of our program is aimed at young girls between the age of 7 to 17. And they have a book that's being launched. The book is being launched in March. They have a Girl Majestic Conference. And the conference, when we have the conference, it's young girls from all over the state of Michigan. And Danielle Lyons started this program at the age of 14. She's now a young woman. And so she can really reach the young girls and talk to them. We work with Minnie Davis, who have a program called Young Men in Motion, so we can get the young men involved in it. And she's always involved in preparing them for job readiness. She has mentors come in and teach them about being gentlemen. They have a lot of different workshops. For the women, we have something called the Deborah Circle, and this is a meeting where we said, when you come in here, everything you say stays in here. We provide resources for these women and tell them we're here to help you to recognize the signs of domestic violence, or if you're being challenged with low self-esteem, or maybe you might need a job, or maybe you might need some clothing or food. We do feed people. This is not something that we do on a daily basis, but when we have the resources, we feed. We have our community baby shower, which we're having the 2nd of April, and we're always in need of more baby items. And these for women, this baby shower is for women all across the state of Michigan. We get these women from Ann Arbor, Lansing, Detroit, everywhere, all over Michigan. They come to our community baby shower.
Oh, wow.
And we also working now with Carry the Word Ministry, Pastor Cecile Massey. She's also on our board now. And so we have a lot of different partners we work with. John Bosco, Safe, Developing Kids, Tim Newberry. So there are a lot of organizations that we work with to make sure that we can work with the person on a holistic basis.
Yeah, definitely. That's amazing. Can we talk a little bit more about one thing you talked about earlier? You said Deborah Circle. I'm just wondering how you came up with that name, Deborah Circle. Is there a story behind that and how that actually came to be?
Well, there was a woman that when the organization first started, her name was Deborah, and she changed to Deborah. And she wrote a book called Of Royal Blood. And she began to break down who we were and how we have royalty inside of us. And I was so impressed with her, and also she was there to help me when in the early stages of Women in Touch. And sometimes, people don't know running a nonprofit or any type of organization or company, it can become very challenging. And she was there to listen and to bring me through. And then I read about the Deborah in the Bible, who was a judge. She was a prophetess. And she would also go into war. She was a warrior. And so after reading her, I decided to name it the Deborah Circle, so that every woman, when they come in, would understand that one thing that they're going to leave out victorious, warriors. I have a new part of Women in Touch. It's called the Red Lipstick Experience. And that is going to combine the Deborah Circle. And I had to get a name that would be catchy so I could just draw people into it. And people said, the Red Lipstick Experience, what is that? I said, well, lipstick indicates women, and the red indicates victory. Because a lot of people don't know that our flag, the red, white, and blue, red stood for victory and also stands for the blood of Jesus, which I believe gave us the victory, those that believe. So I call it the Red Lipstick Experience. And through this Red Lipstick Experience, we're going to have a lot of productions. In other words, we're going to take real-life incidents, real-life things that happen to women, and place them right on stage. And sometimes when you see and hear your life being acted out, sometimes you can begin to analyze even your own situation and start making changes. So we have a production coming up in April also called The Red Lipstick Experience Presents The Soul of a Woman. And this is going to be really different because it's taking real-life situations and bringing them to the stage.
That sounds really impactful. Definitely when you bring things to life that way, where you're using real-life experiences like that, I mean, you can only but be captivated when you're seeing something like that play out in front of you. So I think that's going to be pretty awesome. So thank you so much for letting us know about that.
Yes.
Now let's talk a little bit more about this community baby shower, the thought process behind it. Tell us how it evolved and how it came to be.
Well, I'm glad you asked that. One of our directors, he was our director at the time, we would have our meetings, our workshop downtown, and it was for the homeless. And some of the women would come in and say, do you have any baby items? Do you have any things for babies? Do you have any diapers? And it was so many of them coming in, and one time I looked at the director and I said, we got to do something. This is really a crisis. I didn't know that there's so many young women that need diapers and all kind of things for their newborn babies. And so I told her that, and she called a meeting, and I said, what is this? She handed me a packet. She said, you told me to do something about it, And so she came up with this community baby shower. And when she did, we got busy. The board really got busy, and we asked everybody that we could think of for items. And the community really, when we say community, it's a community effort. And the board member, the board members, they come out of their pocket. And I love having them because when the women walk in, I want them to be wow, because we want to make sure that the place is decorated. It's like their own personal baby shop because each one of them get a diaper bag filled with a pack of diapers, bottles, binkies, onesies, all kinds of items. And then we have a series of service providers. We also invite the fathers, and we get prominent men to come and have workshops with them on being a father. And we get doctors and nurses to come in and speak to the women. And this year, every year, our aim is to make it bigger and better. We have one of the judges to come and help us. She's been a blessing, Judge Wanda Evans. She's truly been a blessing to us. We have a lot of Sam's Club, Target. We have a lot of people that help us. But this year, I want it to be bigger. We're going to do 80 women. I scaled down last year. We did 125. I'm scaling down a little bit because I want to make sure that every woman have a stroller for their baby. So this is a very ambitious dream, but I believe it can happen.
It sounds fantastic. Is this like an annual event that you do this every single year, or how often are you able to do the community baby showers? Totally fine.
Mm-hmm. It's an annual event because it requires a lot of time, and you have to imagine if every woman, last year, like I said, it was about 125 women. And if you get diaper bags, just imagine getting diaper bags for 125 women.
Right.
And a box of diapers and blankets. So it's annual. Although we've been asked, to put on baby showers for other people, but it's more than a notion. But we love it. The women just love it.
I would imagine that you get some amazing feedback from them, too. They're probably extremely floored and just really happy to have someone to care enough to really reach out to them and actually want to help them in their situation. Let's talk a little bit about how they're chosen. How are the women selected that get to attend?
A lot of the women are from the MIHP program. This is the nursing program. Some of the mothers, these are social workers and nurses, work with women throughout our community that are pregnant and maybe are financially challenged. And so we send them to some of these agencies. And sometimes I do 5, sometimes I do 10 girls. And then the others, some of them are homeless and in different shelters. And some of them are just people that I know somebody that is going through a hard time now. Can I put her on the list? So the list is open. It'll be open, I think, January 15th. I think it's usually the second week in January. And we started putting the girls on our list. But I found out something that really surprised me. I would always sneak a few more girls on the list and wouldn't tell my board members. But I found out the board members were doing the same thing. So I just think that we've really been blessed. Pastor Cassandra Smith has really been a blessing to us at the baby showers, even at the youth prayer breakfast, too. I forgot to mention we do a youth prayer breakfast. We have had so many people, and I don't want to leave any name out. Pastor Gwen, it's just been so many people that have helped us out.
And with the community baby shower, you said that people add names, things of that nature. So is there like a selection process, or is it mostly just a list that, you're getting different suggestions and recommendations for different people, and you compile the list? And then, because I could see this list going long and long and longer, just like you mentioned the 125 when we scaled it down to the 80. So I'm just wondering the selection process. Do they submit an application packet? They come in. Do they have any type of process, or is it just mostly you just people that they know, you submit a list or roster individuals? Is that how is that process? Can you explain that a little bit to us?
Well, actually, like the social workers or the nurse will get a list of girls and submit the names. They send it to our email, submit these names to us. And we don't take you through a long process because a lot of times in order to get things when you need, you got to fill out this paper and that paper. So all we have to do is know that your baby is going to be born 2 weeks before the baby shower and any time after the baby shower, because most of our things are for newborn babies. And sometimes we are blessed to get things for older children. One year we gave out coats up to the age of your child was 10 years old. Anytime somebody gives us something, we usually save it for the baby shower because most of these mothers have other children. And the process is just tell us when your baby is due, if you know the gender, the mother's name, the father's name. And they can bring one other person with them. A lot of times we prefer the father because we do have workshops and information for them, like some of the service providers. Providers are people that work with our youth that are trying to get youth the GED. We have people from the gas company, the light company, Head Start, all kind of programs and things that they may need help with. You know, the WIC program, anything that we think that a young mother may need.
That's awesome. That's great. You talked about, throughout our conversation, you've talked about all the partners and everybody that's really been instrumental and helpful throughout this whole process. And just wondering, are there any key organizations that have really assisted you greatly or that's about to assist you greatly, and what type of large organizations are they? I know we mentioned earlier some key stores and things of that nature. Are there any of the top companies that you work with?
Well, you know what? Even the Tigers organization, the Tigers Baseball Company, we do a family night for our youth, and every year the Tigers donate a large amount of tickets that we can have children go with their families. And they have so much fun because they come like a group of them, and a mother and dad come to bring their children. It's a way of bringing the families together for a family night. Target helps us every year for our community baby shower. Some of our board members have organizations themselves, such as Minnie Davis. She helps out. Young Men in Motion help out, and they help us out like this Thanksgiving. They brought, they gave out turkeys to some of the mothers and some of the people that were, having maybe a challenging holiday to make sure that those holidays go great. I think it's Panel Bread. They give us bread and stuff that we pass out to senior citizens and to our community. And like I said, I do not want to leave anybody out on this list. There have been so many people, especially to do the baby shower. It takes so many people to make sure this come together. This year, like I said, I want it to be different. We're going to have a dessert table and candy table, so that's going to be something else. The food, it's going to be a brunch this year, so we're going to have a whole bunch of food. It's so many people that have helped us, my sons, my granddaughters, oh, my goodness, my grandkids, so much.
You can't leave the grandkids out.
I can't
leave them out. No.
Oh, my goodness. My grandkids started real young. My grandson, Joshua, he was part of our productions, and Faith and Lindsay, and even my I got two sets of twins. One set is 17, another set are 8. And when my twins were 6 years old, they were helping us unload for the baby shower,
Oh, wow. That's precious. Yeah. That's awesome. Training them up in the way they should go, right?
Yes. My sons and Kanae and my daughter. I just get my family, my sisters, and when they see me a lot of times they say, what do you want now? So, and my mentor, I cannot leave my mentor out, Pastor Audrey. She has truly been behind me, and she said, whatever you need, I'm there. And so, she has people that she asks, and they donate really big every year for the community baby shower. And Women of Destiny. I'm just afraid I might miss somebody, and I don't want to miss anybody because people have been a blessing. And
everyone who helped out has been tremendous in helping out with everything. And I know when you have the event in April, you're going to thank them, that much more, because if it wasn't for them, you wouldn't even have the opportunity to put it together. And that's why it's been so successful.
Yes, and I had my vice president, Tisha. She sent into Channel 7, and I think she told my story. I don't know what she told them, but I won the 2020 award on Channel 7, Unifying Community, and it aired on TV, I think, a couple of Sundays ago, Women in Touch, and it showed pictures of what we've done and what we've been doing. And
you're doing a phenomenal job.
Yeah, that was an experience.
You're doing a phenomenal job. When you're doing great work, everybody wants to know what's happening because they want to be a part. So that's awesome. It definitely is. Let's talk a little bit about, future expansion goals. So, you're doing everything in Michigan, and you're being definitely having a true impact here. Are you looking to do anything outside of the state? Are you looking to expand? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I do have a dream. My dream is to really, my focus was Detroit, because as you know, if you ride through Detroit, you'll see so many areas that are and so much chaos, or it just looks totally depleted. And so my focus was right here in Detroit to bring our city back, to make it beautiful. So we are beginning I have another committee, and we are going to begin to build it up by fixing up community after community, by somehow purchasing homes and fix them up, and being able to put some of the women and families into some shelters and to a building. I'm believing God for a building that would be a resource empowerment center for families. My personal dream to expand is that I am a spoken life artist. And it's not a spoken word. I do want people to know it's a difference between spoken word and spoken life. I take real life incidents and I speak them out as if you might be reading them from a book. And sometimes I do it with music, sometimes I do it with musical instruments, but I speak these out. And I do want to be able to go around the world and speak out different life challenges and how we do get the victory through Jesus Christ. And so that's something that I love to do. And anytime someone said, would you come and speak at my church or at my event, I love to. Also, my partner and I have a comedy act, Emma and Beulah. Emma and Beulah are two 85-year-old, well, I'm 85. She didn't want to be 85, so she's 82. Two older women. And, when you get a certain age, you feel free and you can just say some things. But it's clean comedy. But we say some things. Mostly I say some things, okay? So
it's funny.
That is something that we do, and we've been around doing that for a number of years, too. And it's another source to bring funds into the organization.
Oh, wow. You are definitely, you are doing a lot. You have some phenomenal events, and you're really making a difference in the community, and that's key. It really is. So thank you for just